Welcome back, everyone. Well, as you can see, our big project is finally finished. The first video on this project was May the 4th. Well, it is so exciting to see it fully assembled and painted and weathered. Now, all of this is currently available on my website at jasonjensentrains.com. All right, well, in today's video, we have a lot to do, so let's get to it. In a previous video, I showed how to assemble these two dioramas and paint and weather them. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to assemble these three dioramas, and we'll paint and weather them to match this. We'll also be assembling some small pillars that allow you to stack the dioramas. And I have a previous video showing how you can stack these and build an entire scene with these. Now, I do want to mention that the doors open, so you can arrange these dioramas in different configurations for photography. And with the doors open, you can photograph through the hallway. And I'll show you quick. Okay, so here are all the pieces, and the first thing we're going to do is separate them all and then put a gray primer on them. Here's all the walkways. I want to show you a quick little trick. You'll notice that a bunch of these are filled in. So take your fingernail and you can see they all just pop right out. Now you may want to save all these to glue onto any sci-fi ship that you're building or sci-fi diorama. And we also want to take out any little pieces like these little circles. Those all have to be popped out. And then we want to cut these pieces out. And you may have to clean them up a little bit. Make sure all these are popped out. These are all great little detail parts that can be added to any model or diorama. Okay, that is all the wood. Now we have this. And you want to go through and cut everything out. There's little tabs on it that's holding everything in place. So you can see that these are for the door. Now we'll have to go and cut all of these pieces out. And again, you're going to want to save all these little pieces. Okay, I'll finish up cutting all these pieces out, and then I'm going to put everything on a big board and spray a gray primer over all of these pieces. Okay, everything was first sprayed with a primer. This is the back wall, and it just stays the primer color. This is the base, and these are all the grates for the walkway. All of this was sprayed with a hammer finish. Then I used vintage teal. All of the parts up here, you just need to spray one side. Including this and this piece and these. Now these down here, I sprayed both sides. The first thing we're going to do is take our base and glue the back wall to it. And you can see that it's cut to fit. Now it's very important that you use something that is square to make sure that this is perfect, because you want them to line up with the other dioramas. Okay, next we're going to glue on the end pieces. Make sure that everything is flush and square. Okay, then we're going to take these and glue them in place so it sits like that. Next we're going to glue on this back wall, and it slides down in this space. And I don't know if you can see back there, but there's a space between this blue piece and the wall, and this will slide down in that space. So first we'll cover this with some super glue. Now if there's a little gap, you can simply go from the back and glue that. Okay, let's tip this on its back, and then we're going to take this piece right here, and you can see how it has a little notch that comes out, a little tab. That tab goes right in there. And again, you're going to want something square to make sure that that is perfectly square and lined up in there. Okay, next we have these, and they get glued right here, and we have 4 of them. And mine don't have little tabs, but yours will. You'll see right here that little section that comes down. That fits right in the holes right there. Just like that. Okay, we'll tip it upside down, and then there's 2 rectangles, and those rectangles get glued right there. Now we have all of these. and they get glued on the inside just like that, with the this part going down, so it's U-shaped. Very important that it goes like that because there's pipes that fit in there. Alright, let's get these glued in. Now you want to make sure those are flat, because our walkway gets glued on top of those. Now we're taking our door frame and gluing the pieces onto it. You can see there's an engraved line where the pieces go. Now you can leave this piece off if you want, but if you're going to glue it on, I recommend painting 2 yellow or orange circles so it looks like those arrows light up. Okay, next let's get these panels glued in. And they go right in the bottom, in the corners. And the hole will get filled in later with a 3D printed part. And you'll see there's a space along there. And that's okay because there's a straw that gets, a pipe that gets glued in right there. Now we'll do the other side. You just want to make sure that it's flush with the edge. Now the center pieces that came out of there, we're going to glue those down here. You can glue them wherever you want. Okay, now let's start to put on all the pieces that cover this pillar and this pillar. And we'll do some of these too. Okay, we'll start with these. They have a circle in the center. Then you have 2 pieces with lines engraved on it. And you want those lines to match up with the line on there. Now we have long pieces, and you want that line that's engraved to go all the way to the top, and then it goes over. So we're going to put it just like that so that that line lines up with the lines on here. Now we're going to glue on the covers here, and you'll see that there's 4 rectangles that are all the same size and they have no design on them. Those get glued here, 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 and here. Now let's take the 2 that have rectangles engraved, and those get glued on the front. Then we have little thin rectangles, and those get glued on right there. Okay, next we have 2 that are perfect squares. Okay, now we just have 2 to glue on, 2 left. Okay, so this is what it looks like so far. And next, I'm going to take two colors, burnt sienna and bittersweet chocolate. And I'm going to use a sponge, and I'm just going to go over all of the edges and add some rust to all of the areas that are like blue and teal. Okay, our rust is all done. And again, I just used a sponge and some rust colored paints, and then added some water to my brush and did some streaking of the rust color. Now we need to add our 3D parts. There's control panels that go along here and in here. And we have a control panel here. We have a 3D part that gets put in here and here. Let me show you quick on here. You can see the 3D parts. And so we'll get a primer sprayed on everything that is 3D printed, including these. Here are all the 3D printed parts that come in the kit. You have 6 of these, and you can see you have to break it off of the supports. You have these two, these two pieces, and 3 control panels. So it's very simple to get these off. You just want a brand new sharp blade. Do not use a dull blade because you'll risk breaking the parts. Then take your file make sure the back is nice and smooth. I'm about to glue on this control panel, and all I did was, first I'll show it to you. I set it right next to where it goes, and I painted a red square, a blue square, and a black square. And by setting it next to it, I knew exactly where to paint those squares. Now we'll glue this on quick. Okay, and you can see that I've got my other panels glued in place. Next, we're going to add some rust to these. And you can see I've already put a primer on them and then painted them the teal color. And those fit right up here in these corners. Now the kit comes with black straws. You'll get 2 of them that are this thickness. In those, we're going to paint a reddish brown primer, and they get put on both sides of the pillar there, just like that. Then you'll get 8 thin straws, and those go in the holes that are pre-cut in all of these pieces. I'll show you on the gray one. And I simply have a piece of cardboard. You want to leave some space in between them so that you can spray from both sides so that you can get as much of the pipe painted as possible. Okay, the straws are all painted. Now we'll just set this aside and let it dry. And we'll add some rust to these. Again, with our two main rust colors, bittersweet chocolate and burnt sienna. And we'll use a sponge and sponge it on. Okay, I've got the two straws glued in the center, and I simply just put a little dab of glue in the hole on this side. Started by putting the straw in this direction, and then you can bend the straw and put it in the holes over on this side, and then straighten them, and the glue sets up and it's done. Now for the bottom pipes. Okay, I cut my two straws the same length and slid them through. The same on this side. Now we'll take our piece that we've got painted and glue it right there so that the straws hit the center of the side of it. Okay, next I'm going to paint those straws. Now it doesn't have to be perfect because you can make it look like the paint is chipping off, and we can even go back in and add some rust with a sponge. Okay, we are almost done. The next thing we're going to do is work on our walkways. And first we're going to place these on there where we want them. Then with a sponge we're going to use Biscuit, and we'll sponge on the areas that are most walked on, heavily worn. So we don't want to put it on the edges. We'll leave the edges the teal color. So we'll put this on in the center of areas where we want it chipped, and then we'll spray it with our teal color, and then after it dries we'll just rub off this, and it'll leave the hammered color finish that's on here. So it's just important that once we get our Biscuit sponged on there, that when we take these off, that we leave them in the same order when we spray paint them, and then put them back in the same order. I wanted to show you quick that once it starts to dry, it just simply peels off. Okay, I just cut these 4 pipes 3 inches long. Okay, so I've got the straws put in there. Now put this on the bottom and put the straws in the center and push it until it's right on the edge. And then make sure that this lines up. Perfect. Now we'll just glue these quick. Okay, we'll let that dry, and then we'll paint those pipes to match these up here, and maybe add a little bit of rust to them. Okay, the next diorama we're going to build has a door at the end. Now this is actually 2. So we have a left side and a right side. And I'm not going to build both of them. I'll just build one. But on the website, you'll be able to order a left side and a right side. Now it's basically just like the one that we just finished building. except the back wall is a little different. It just has panels that you glue on there, and they're engraved on the back wall, so you know exactly where to glue your panels. And then this end here is it's not complicated, but I'll walk you through how to build that and how to build the big door. And the door does open. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is just dry fitting the pieces, putting them all in place so I know where they go and making sure that I have all the correct pieces. Now, the next thing we're going to do is glue on the back wall to the base. Now you want to make sure you use something square. Okay, then we can go ahead and start gluing in some of these pieces. We'll start with this one. Now we'll start with these two, and they're identical. It really doesn't take a lot of glue. So you can see there's a hole in the bottom that this tab goes in, and there's a tab that sticks out here, and it goes right there. Very easy. Okay, this one is the same as these two. Okay, this one here, you can see it's solid. You want to wipe any glue because there are doors that slide back in there, and you don't want that glue to block it. Okay, let's see. We have this and this. So you can see these two are the same. And then you have two of these. And those fit up top. Same with this one. Let's focus on one at a time. And for this, you may want to now, the one that goes here has a pattern on the front. Okay, let's take one of these, and we're going to put it just like this, right there. Now we're going to do that all again on the end here. So there's a hole that fits in. Okay, then we'll take one of these. Okay, now as long as we're on this end, let's take this piece. Now this piece is 1/8 of an inch thick. All the pieces that we've put in so far that go up and down have been 1/16. These along the bottom are 1/8. So we have this one that goes there, and we have one that goes there. Now, very important, you want it to go right to the edge. Again, very important that it's level with that back wall. As you can see, we need to leave a space in between there for the door. Okay, let's add this one. And again, you want that perfectly level with the edge. And I say that because if you put another diorama next to it, you want it to line up perfectly. You don't want to have gaps in between your dioramas. Okay, let's take one of these and we'll glue it there. Oh, I didn't glue these in. Okay, this is what it looks like so far. Now on this end, we have to add this piece, and then a piece across the top and the bottom. Let me grab those quick. Okay, for the piece that goes across the top here, I'm going to file it a little bit, take some of the paint off. We're using super glue, so it doesn't make a big difference, but it helps a little bit. Helps to make the glue stick a little better. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is glue this one on. Then this piece, it's an 1/8 of an inch thick. Trying to get this all lined up before my glue sets up and dries. Then we'll glue this piece up top. You can see there's an even space all the way through there. Okay, now we're going to take this piece, and it's an 1/8 inch thick, and that gets glued right there. Make sure it's right on the edge. Now we'll take this piece and glue it right there. Okay, as you can see, I just did a quick black rectangle there. Okay, important that it's flush to the edge. Now in the kit you'll have a rectangle. You may have two, because most kits, most of the dioramas have two pillars. But that rectangle fits right in there for the top of that. Okay, next we're going to set this aside, and we're going to add some rust. We have a lot of panels that get glued on here. That'll get glued in place. That'll get glued on there. So it's a little easier to add rust before we get everything glued on there. Now, you may not want to add rust. You may just want to glue this all together and have it look new, which is great. I actually recommend, if you do want it new, to use a paint that is either a gloss or a satin finish, and maybe use 3 different shades of gray. A light gray, so all the teal would be a really light gray, almost a white. Then a medium gray, but make sure that, again, that it's gloss or a satin finish. And then possibly a dark gray that, again, is a gloss or a satin finish. And spray all your pieces and glue it together, and you're done. Okay, I also rusted these 3 pieces. They're an 1/8 inch thick, and they have little circles in all 4 corners. And they go right on here. So let's get those glued on. And there's engraved lines to show you it. Okay, now let's work on the back wall. So we'll lay this on its back, and we'll start with this one. And there's engraved lines to show you exactly where to glue it. Now we'll take this one, I have found that super glue works the best on this material. The wood glue can eventually dry, and then it can pop off. It doesn't hold really well unless maybe you sand both sides of the surfaces first and then use the wood glue. It's probably a little easier to use tweezers putting these pieces in, but next we're going to glue on the pieces that go on the outside of this. Now there's a circle with a line that goes down, and then you want to match up the line on the next plate. Okay, now we have 2 plates, and I'm going to wait to glue these on until we get our walkways put in here. Because sometimes these hang down low, and then it's hard to get your plates under it. Where if your plates are in there and then you glue these on, it'll hold them in place. Okay, next we're going to take these and we're going to glue these to the back. Now I just spray painted this. I think it was ivory white. And we glue that to the back, just center it. Okay, next we're going to glue all these panels on here. So let's turn this upside down. And I've got glue on both edges. And you want to center this. Take your time. Make sure it's centered and that it's flush out here. Okay, then we're going to take these and glue them right there. And this one here. So make sure that it's flush to the edge. And then same on this side. Make sure that's flush. Now we'll tip it on its back and glue our side panels on. Now we have these. And again, let's wait to glue these on after we get our walkway panels glued in place. Okay, now let's go ahead and add some rust to everything we've got glued on here. Okay, I've put a primer on all of the straws. So let's get those glued in place. Oh, I also painted these. Now we'll put a Misket on it and then spray it with the teal color. Okay, so I just put the straws through on this side, and then we'll put a drop of glue here. Okay, let's work on our doors. So you have a thin door and a wide door. And the side that has the engraving on it is the back side. Then you have this piece. So with the back side, that has the engraving on it, have that facing down, and then take this piece and glue it on like that. So I'll quick show you. Same on this. The side that has the engraving on it, have that facing down. Then this gets glued on this side. So you can see on the back side of the door, you see those engraved lines. And then on this side, it's more three-dimensional looking. Now, I don't have these lined up perfectly because we need to glue those together. Now, before I glue mine together, I'm going to paint this a little darker blue by just mixing the desert turquoise and midnight blue. Okay, that one's done. I had to sand it. This is a satin finish, and these paints are flat. So you're going to want to quickly just go over it. So here is the finished diorama. Now, I explained this in another video, but these white panels that you see in here, you could leave those off and put in a frosted plexiglass or a frosted acetate, and then put lights down both sides and across the top so that that would all light up. Now, while I was working on this, I took the time to build the other side. Let me take the camera off and give you a closer look. Now I have a bonus diorama that I built. You assemble this exactly like the first one in this video. The only difference is that it comes with a back panel, and the wall has a rectangle engraved in it so that you know where to paint the white or whatever color you choose. And then you just simply put this layer over the top of that. Very simple. This is a great one to start with. It's very easy. These pillars are available on the website, and you get 2 in a pack. And this makes it possible to stack the dioramas on top of each other. Now, you could just buy these for your own world building or your own diorama. Very easy to put together. There's 2 side pieces, a top piece, and a bottom piece. And you can see there's notches so the tabs just fit in there. Very easy. And then you have these panels that get glued on. Okay, I'm going to spray a bunch of these the teal color, and then we'll add a little bit of rust to them. Okay, our pillars are all painted and rusted. Now you'll notice there's 2 holes in the top of all of them. Those holes are big enough for a standard thin straw. So again, if you're buying these for your own diorama or your own world building display, you can simply add these to your display and then put straws through them if you want. You could even make these taller. So put this one on the bottom and then take another one and put it on top of it. Okay, let's take these and stack our dioramas. Well, this is what they look like when they are all stacked. Now you could put lighting underneath each level, and you could put lights underneath the grates, because on the ends you can see that it goes all the way through on each level. So there's lots of lighting opportunity with these kits. Now I know I had mentioned it before, but you could paint these to look brand new. You could paint them with a semi-gloss paint with maybe 3 or 4 different shades of gray. There's so many variations of colors that you could do with these. And again, there's opportunities for lighting. You could cut out a rectangle behind there and put in some frosted plexiglass and put lights behind it so that actually lights up. You could probably drill little holes and put lights in the control panels. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. These are so fun to build and paint and weather, and then to be able to photograph all of your toys and action figures on it. It's just so much fun. All right, well, thank you all so much for watching. And if you are a Patreon member, you receive a discount on all of the new sci-fi merchandise. And again, all of this is available on my website at jasonjensentrains.com. All right, again, thank you all so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. And until next time, stay motivated and happy modeling, everyone.